Welcome to the Stackin Sats podcast presented by Force-Based Mining. I am your host, Plamenko. Today I'll be speaking with Nathan England, Chief Creative Officer at the Merov Institute. In this episode, we discuss Nate's introduction into Bitcoin, how to build a community, how to work with the mining community, and much more. As always, this is not financial advice. We hope you enjoy this conversation with Nathan England. I'm very happy to have you here on the podcast. Nate, I'm really happy to have you here for many reasons. You are a good friend, a very close friend, and you're someone who essentially brought me into the Bitcoin mining industry. I remember
for better or worse.
For better or worse. One thing real quick I want to say on that is I remember you had left Whole Foods for a specific Bitcoin job, and I was one of the only people that was like, okay, bro, like, go do your thing. Everyone was very concerned. And then just the turnaround of having you, pop in every once in a while and be like, yo, I work in Bitcoin. What's up? To ultimately bringing me on your team. Truly grateful for all of it. And it's been a wonderful experience. And I want to have you here to talk about the experience. So yeah, Nathan England, really happy to have you on. And I guess if you wanted to, give a short little introduction of yourself to those of you who don't know you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely super happy to be here as well. And so thank you for having me. It's been a fun ride. So I'm currently the CCO, Chief Community Officer for Merov, which is developing a marketplace that's going to mitigate a lot of the issues that we've experienced working in this space with high value transactions. Verifying those, securing those, offering some protections in that regard. And it's exciting. And yeah.
Very cool. I kind of wanted to start more about how you were originally introduced to Bitcoin. What was that whole experience like?
Really interesting, actually. There was a guy in the Milwaukee music community, a electronic producer, that really got a whole core group of people involved in Bitcoin on Discord in this like crypto 101 type group. Or I think it quickly became 201. Like it wasn't an intro course anymore. It was for the graduates. And he really shepherded us along in our path to getting involved in Bitcoin. And at the time, I was actually in a permaculture sustainable community in the desert of Arizona, living in a camper van, traveling the country. And I was sitting in this communal kitchen at this big, super round table, this big circle table, like King Arthur type table. And I made my first Bitcoin transaction right there at that table that had been there for like 40 years or something in this community. And at the time, it was just a way for me to store the value I was generating in the world. Traveling across state lines, working in a cash industry. I was working in Renaissance fairs at the time. And so to me, it was just a way that I could store my money, in something a little less traditional than a bank savings account. And at the same time, more secure than stuffing it underneath my bed or in a wall or something. And that was really all it was about for me.
So you weren't really necessarily fascinated by the technology, the idea of like transacting and stuff. You were just like, oh, this could be something potential and promising. This is the future. I'm gonna hodl a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't so much about the long-term potential of generating a lot of value. Like I wasn't looking at it as an investment. To me, it was really just a store of value, as a way for me to take control of my finances in a way that, only someone with a gun to my head could take from me. That, if I go try to get my money in the morning on some big emergency of a day in the world, that I'll be able to, have that value that I've stored over time. So I really wasn't looking at it, originally. I mean, we're talking, it hadn't even hit 1,000 yet. This was when it was 300 a coin, late 2015, wow. 2016. Maybe confusing the date there, but yeah, so it wasn't about it's going to 100,000, it's going to 1 million. It was really just about it won't go lower in 4-year time frames than when I put it in. Like over time, I will retain the value I'm generating in the world. Like that's all it was how do I take it out of an inflationary system and just hold it with self-custody. Those were really the aspects that drew me to it.
Yeah, and it's really, it's a common theme that you see in Bitcoin, in crypto is like, whether it's like self-education or kind of like forming, like a trusted forum or something. It's just funny to see how all that comes together, and it's a pretty, common backline into how people are introduced into Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. You also live a very, very interesting life. So I find it funny that, you were out there like on a farm, maybe doing some farming, raising some
chickens,
chickens. And you're like, okay, this Bitcoin thing. It just shows the diversity of the kinds of people who get into it. You really do get all kinds of people. And you were one of the first people who spoke about it so like openly and really like positively to me. At the time when I had first heard of Bitcoin, I was very dismissive of it. You were someone who definitely filled in a lot of those gaps and was like, no, it's chill, bro. Like, let me tell you why.
There was a project you were interested in at the time. What was that one, Plamenko?
Oh man, I feel like this is going to burn me forever. And I have to solidify it every time. Yeah, I was kind of an accidental Ethereum shill.
There's nothing wrong though with, wherever you started and coming to the conclusion, that Bitcoin is the answer. I mean, we're converting gold bugs and fiat fanatics, we'll call them, and so, as long as you end up in Bitcoin camp, like however you got here is acceptable.
Oh man, that's so good. Yeah, I have a feeling I'll be owning up to this one for a while. But the good thing is like you said, yeah, people change. It's good to change your ideas. It's good to be open to new things and eventually, develop your own form. But I'm curious to know how you went from, just getting into Bitcoin while you were out, traveling, doing your thing. How did it kind of solidify into you, then wanting to work in the industry and find yourself working in the industry?
Yeah. It was an interesting path. I actually, I fell into managing on the Renaissance Fair circuit, a handmade leather footwear company out of California. I bought some sandals at a fire flow shop in Tempe, Arizona that some fire performers sent me to. I bought a moped, zipped over there, bought these sandals, and the guy messaged the owners of the company telling them that he found a traveling couple that would be perfect to manage their Renaissance Fair booths across the country. And they emailed us and we took the job.
Who was this guy?
It was the owner of a fire flow shop. So like the props and equipment and clothing for like fire performers. It was crazy.
Are you a fire performer?
Yeah, I spin fire sword.
Dude.
Contact fire sword. Like a huge flame, like spinning all around, like throwing it up. Yeah.
It's just never ending, man.
Yeah. And
man.
Next thing you know, I'm traveling between Kansas, Texas, Arizona, California, Colorado in a circuit, 2 months in each state, managing these, old timey, good day, my lords and ladies, like shop, selling boots and stuff, like $2,000 boots.
Holy crap.
Yeah. We did like 20,000 a weekend in sales, like every weekend, 2 months in each state. It was crazy. And, throughout that time, I was making cash and I was living a lifestyle that was a little bit, counterculture, traveling, being a nomad, if you will. And, like I said, it was a good way of storing that value. And I just became more involved in the online communities around Bitcoin, especially in this Discord group. It grew a little bit more. And I kind of came off the road. Didn't want to get trapped in that lifestyle. Bitcoin was going into a bull market, went up, broke 1,000, broke 5,000, it just kept going. And so it kind of gave me this bigger opportunity in life for sure. Like I never had much, and anything I have, I've lost in a freak boating accident in some unrecognizable lake. But sorry, that's my little joke. But yeah, so I kind of came off the road wanting to get out of that lifestyle because I saw people living there for like 30 years and still living in tents and just living paycheck to paycheck. And so I definitely want to get out of this industry, even though we had a pretty good gig where we could stay inside the little apartments above the booths. We had a management job. They paid for our travel. Like we were pretty cushy as far as the Renaissance fair world is concerned. But we kind of came off the road and wanted to reset. We came back to Milwaukee, had some life changes with the relationship and overall direction in life. And some friends had actually been operating a over-the-counter Bitcoin exchange downtown Milwaukee. And I had watched them create this. I'd watched them go through a couple of years of running it. And I'd always told them, like, the second you need a sales guy, the second you need someone to represent your company and work with clients, like, I'm there for it. And I started hanging out with Grant, who you're familiar with from our time all working together.
Yeah.
And yeah, they said they were looking for a sales guy. And I was like, dude, I've been telling Devin this entire time, like, I would do that. He's like, I never knew that. And next thing you know, I'm being hired by them and I'm managing the downtown office for Charon Coins.
And tell me a little bit about Charon Coins. What was like a day-to-day life working for Charon Coins?
It was pretty awesome. We're fully registered MSB, money service business. So, we're practicing all, KYC, AML compliance across the board. And we were on-ramping and off-ramping people in the Bitcoin. So I'd be, meeting people, sitting down with people, helping them set up their wallets securely, understand the steps to all of that, benefits, pros, cons to various choices. And we would provide rails for them to buy or sell Bitcoin.
That's really interesting. I mean, to have people kind of find like an OTC business like that in Milwaukee, to trust it. And then you also got to have that kind of like time to, polish your skills, work on kind of like better understanding, what is the best protocol for Bitcoin and to be able to explain that to others. Oh, that's really cool. And just definitely you caught it at the right time. I mean, you definitely left at the right time and started doing this. And it was just really fun as an outsider to kind of watch you, become this Bitcoin guy.
Yeah, to go back a little bit here to Whole Foods. Yeah, so shortly after coming off the road, before working for Charon Coins, was living near Whole Foods, and I was like 30% off groceries if I work there part time. I'm like, let's go. And I started working there in produce, and Bitcoin was going up the whole time. We were on the way to 20,000 for the first time, and a lot of people had their issues with these conversations. Namely, our GM at the time, he was very concerned when I said I was leaving to go work in a blockchain crypto Bitcoin company, like legitimately concerned, like a friend, like, you sure? Like, yeah, man, like you should be, storing some of your funds in Bitcoin. And it's like, oh my God, never.
He's still very concerned to this day. Yeah, definitely have gone in there and he's very concerned about our lives and all that. And
really,
yeah, he's like, are you all okay? Everything's good.
Yeah, FTX, right? Like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin went back to 20,000. Isn't that dead? Isn't that terrible? It's like, dude, like 20,000 as a floor is an amazing accomplishment.
Right. 4 years ago, people were just going nuts when it hit 20,000, when it was at 18,000.
Everything is relative, right? You lose that perspective when you're at 69,000, 20,000. Oh my God, when we were at 6,900, up to 20,000, pretty exciting. So people lose sight of that.
No, they totally do. And that's been the most, eye-opening experience of the bear market. Once you can really kind of let your feelings go and the personal attachment to your belief, this is going to work, this is going to be a thing, you really start to humble yourself and spend more time educating yourself and hopefully then building a better representation of Bitcoin. I found that the more people see it kind of like crashing, quote unquote, the more that they're curious about it and the more that they're asking me about Bitcoin, and really have taken this time to kind of develop just a better understanding of how everything works. And to then, like we're doing here, we're trying to shed light on the industry, on the experience, and create a narrative that just overall is more positive and encompassing of, the future of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I mean, the potential it's beyond potential at this point. So it is always funny to have those, interactions where people are worried about your well-being. And meanwhile, we spend every day worried about, the fiat system and the inevitable debt slavery. And we're worrying about everyone else, in a different sense.
Yeah, that's why I keep my Zimbabwe $500 million bill. That's in my wallet somewhere. My Venezuela bolivars. Just examples of fiat currencies that have gone to zero, not even worth the energy to pick up by the armload. And usually I keep a little like $5 bill mixed in with them. Like, see, these are examples of shit fiat currencies.
No, it's true. And I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen the scope of that even 3-4 years ago.
It's better. It's a better metric to see that people are more curious about Bitcoin in the downturn and the bear market. Because like historically, everyone gets excited, all-time high, bull market, right? But obviously you want to buy low, sell high. If you're trying to trade, really you should just be accumulating. Sell, shouldn't even be a word in your vocabulary, personally, in my opinion.
With a nice hodl sign next to you.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. But that's a good sign that people are curious when it's lower, because when it's lower and still 15, 20,000, it's starting to make sense to people. They're starting to see the long-term chart. Like, we're still only working off 12 years, 13 years. So it's like historical data is still limited, and people will start to see that, these floors keep going up. Like, it's not even about the ceiling, like whatever. Sometimes, we hit those ceiling points and we don't go back for a long time. So it's about establishing these higher and higher floors, and people will catch on. And they are.
No, definitely. You start to get people more intrigued when they see that there is a stability to all of this. Bitcoin, the joke is it's at best, a stable coin. It's like we just don't know what that price is going to be. And throughout all this, you've really had kind of just like an understanding for knowing when is the right time to kind of move to the next thing. And I assumed at the time that you were still working the OTC business. We go into the pandemic, things kind of unravel, and a lot of people become uneasy and, start to lose hope. And I felt like that's when I'd run into you, and you really, had put your head down and, doubled down and gone further into the Bitcoin mining community. And that's when I had the privilege of working with you at DLI and seeing that you were very much like an important social person to the community. And I know that, this is always tough for you to hear, but you really do have like a great presence. When we're talking about like the biggest brokers in the mining industry, when we're talking about the biggest players, they're all so jolly when they see your name and they hear from you. It's very admirable. And that was a lot that I got to learn in the industry was just from watching you, just observing you go into it, just like, another community, another place where you can, kind of bring people together. You seem to really have an important role with that. And I just always have wondered, like, where did the background come for that ability?
Yeah, I guess, it's it's definitely always interesting to hear that perspective, because I'm kind of just hopping in and just being me and just connecting with people, and to self-reflect and hear that, like you noted, is kind of just a strange thing for me to look back on and try to accept. But it's always been like a core characteristic of mine to just kind of dive head into any new community of people and just connect, like just almost get fixated on and really just go full immersion. Like that's what I end up watching, that's what I end up reading, that's who I'm communicating with, getting in these various online communities and physical communities, like whatever it is, like hobbies, different card games or snowboarding or the car community, or a specific niche music community. I guess from a young age, I always just summer camps or different niche hobbies back in high school. I kind of just loved hopping in and connecting with people that maybe like solely dedicated to this thing. Like those are the best people to be interacting with in these categories of like the people that are like, this is all I do, I live and breathe this thing. And like, it's really fun engaging with people that have dedicated their lives to like, very specific single paths. And I love seeing that and just getting involved on all sides to just look at life through those lenses, to be honest, people who have really found themselves in a specific craft or skill set. So yeah, it was really interesting getting involved in the mining side of the world, Bitcoin world. It was something I didn't really know much about. And I kind of just, there was a mutual acquaintance of ours that made a post on a Facebook Milwaukee Bitcoin group and needed some help. It was very vague, just jack of all trades, need help with everything and anything possible. And I kind of, COVID had hit, and Charon Coins over-the-counter business, we relied on in-person transactions, and not having those in-person meetings really hamstringed us. That was kind of our big value add, was being trusted and verifiable, sitting down with us, not just meeting someone online, but actually coming to our office, sitting down, getting to interact before we even do a transaction. And MSBs are notoriously hard to bank. People know that it's challenging. Money service businesses, they don't like large wires or cash business. So kind of had a downturn, and because of that, had more available time. And I kind of just started helping out over there. And started out small, just kind of building a warehouse, keeping it clean, keeping it organized. Started helping out organizing a Telegram account that was, thousands of messages deep of people reaching out, like this whole funnel, and just started helping organize that, putting in a CRM, reaching back to people. And we kind of just kept developing from there. Brought on some key team members throughout my life. Matthias, who I believe you've had on recently, and yourself, and Grant, who you mentioned earlier. Were all these key people in my life that, either had a deep interest or deep understanding in Bitcoin or deep involvement in Bitcoin. And, that was crucial to me for building a team. Like that was the foundation. Like everything else could have been teachable or will identify, but having that long-term vision was really important. And we kind of just grew it from there. We often called it, I think,
Corporation Tycoon.
Yeah.
Why though? Like, why go through all this? Was it just a spark? And like you said, you just kept your head down, kept doing it. It seemed like it's a big endeavor for a lot of people to take the next step, to become successful, to know exactly who they trust, who they want to build something with. Why was it all clicking then?
I mean, it came together pretty synchronistically. I guess a part I left out was like, I literally had a dream that morning that I was like working with these machines, had this tool belt on, and like I woke up and 20 minutes later came across that post to be involved in the mining industry. And I was like, And And I like messaged him and he responded. And the next, 2 days later, I showed up and I just started working there that day. I got hired by the parent company of that organization, DLI. Quickly became like facility manager, became a sales executive, brought on the team. It all just kind of naturally flowed. Like I didn't, I kind of just put my best foot forward and did what made sense and what was, what, kind of common sense, process with most of it. People want to be responded to. People want people that are available for them, that are, hop on a video call and let's just chat. Like I guess in all the sales roles I've had, I've really put the business secondary and I've put the connection first. Like we will find avenues to work together if we're involved in the same industry. Once we've connected and, we're friends or we're colleagues, acquaintances, whatever you want to call it, to try to forge business relationships and paths immediately. And then over time, like become acquaintances or get a connection. Like that's definitely a strategy, but I've always put just connecting with people first. Like, whether or not we have business, whether or not we make a deal, I'm just interested, like authentically interested in who you are and what you're doing. And, let's connect. And if there's a way for us to engage with each other that's mutually beneficial, like let's explore that. And it's really not a tactic. It's not like this sales strategy. I don't like being a sales guy. I don't consider myself a sales guy. My entire time here, I've never really done commission or bonus structures or anything. It's always just been stability and connecting. And through achieving that, the business kind of just flowed. It's strange.
I think one thing about the Bitcoin community, and especially these early stages of the Bitcoining mining industry, is that you have this like Achilles heel. And that Achilles heel is basically trust. A lot of people get burned in this industry. A lot of people can't trust, who they're transacting with, who they're doing business with. A lot of people can't trust even their own business partners. There's a lot of people who are in the industry who used to work together. These are all parts of Bitcoin and the mining community that makes it, a little unstable. And I think part of that is something that you kind of just naturally tapped into. Well, I need to make connections. I need to have a good time with people. I need to let them be themselves, when they're around me, themselves when they're around me. And I think that like tapping into something like that is really what almost caught like wildfire for you, in my opinion, is that you're just grasping on people's ability to be vulnerable. And people aren't very vulnerable when they do business, especially in this business where it's all about self-sovereignty, about self-custody. That's something that I've watched, being in the Bitcoin mining industry for the last 15 months. I've watched other people try to do that. But like you said, that's not a tactic. You can't fake genuineness. So when you see others do it or use the wordage for it, it's almost like, no, this isn't how it's done. One of the things you said was connecting with people, in person, getting to know people in person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when it comes to conferences, that's really kind of the place to do it in the mining community. And, you've really been good at having people break bread and kind of just hang in the same room together and enjoy themselves. And that's where, I personally had a lot of fun kind of like doing the same, becoming vulnerable and getting to know these people within the industry. So conferences, I feel like are a really important aspect. And, I know you generally feel the same. And I guess I wanted to give you some time to kind of, chime in on that as well.
Yeah. Here in Milwaukee, I got pretty involved in the music industry from being like a street promoter for a couple different companies that were pretty prominent back in the like 2010, 2013 kind of time frame. And later on, then I started a concert production company, threw some shows, brought in like artists and caterers and performers and massage therapists and decorators, and just tried really like unifying all these different cogs of like just artistic people in the industry.
Bartenders who juggle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was our spray painter, who you're referring to right now. Derek, great artist and performer. He was our spray painter outside doing spray paint art live at this concert. And so I really like bringing people together. Definitely. It was, I'm not a super creative person. I don't create media or, of any form really. But I liked creating and hosting events and socializing, just hopping in, meeting people. So conferences, Bitcoin Miami 21 was the first one. And there's been probably, maybe just under 10 we've done in the past 2 years. And yeah, that's really where DLI had identified, like, we want you in a sales client services role because, just running the booth there, connecting, going to these satellite events, just brought a lot of connections, a lot of business, and a lot of friends, and I just thoroughly enjoy it. I just, like I said earlier, I love just diving in and meeting people. And I like bringing that out in people. Like, that's the big thing. Like, you can be the super social person, the super, just life of the party, really boisterous and very loud and talkative. And in many ways, I am some of those things. But at the same time, you have to leave room for others and to pull that out of people. Like, it's probably something I struggle with, of, maybe cutting people off or just being really excited about stuff and talking at length in those situations. But really trying to pull that socialness and that openness and, like you said, vulnerability out of people that might not feel super comfortable in doing that. I guess it kind of stems from the music community. Like, no one's on the dance floor. Like, our 3 friends will go out on the dance floor, and then there's 7 of us and they feel good. And now there's 15 of us, and it just kind of grows from there. So, like, opening yourself up to just being who you are and just being accessible, like, that makes it comfortable and okay for others to do the same. In a lot of ways, sometimes it filters people out. People that are just like, no, like, don't touch me. Like, at Summerfest, this guy once was like dancing next to them on the bleachers in Summerfest. And this guy was bumping. I'm like, bro, have a good time. Like, they're like, no. I'm like, okay. You can only try so hard.
Sure.
But yeah, so conferences have been a great time. And first and foremost, I'm there to connect with people, meet people. And then, from there we can see how we can help each other.
Yeah. And I think in the Bitcoin mining industry and a lot of tech industries, you have a lot of people who are shy, a lot of introverts. A lot of people are naturally social. Humans are naturally social. And like you're saying, just giving people that little bit of like a push is all it takes for them to kind of just like dive into, literally what keeps them up at night, what makes them happy. Just last week, I went to a networking event with a mutual friend of ours and got to meet some people who at the beginning, we were having dinner and they didn't really say too many words. But once we started diving into, some of the deeper ideas, next thing you know, everyone is sharing their philosophical opinions. I have a goat farmer telling me how the competition of Bitcoin mining is literally parallel to what he saw raising goats and pigs in Nebraska 20 years ago. So you really do get to connect with people if you spend that time with them. And that's a really great service to this industry where people just, it's not always easy to let yourself go. It's not always easy to have a fun time. You kind of need those people. You're like a modern version of like a bard of some sorts, just going around.
You're not the first to say that.
But it's good.
That's what Grant says. He just calls me a bard.
No, it's good. It's good to have that ability to kind of be a little bit goofy, poke a little bit of fun at yourself, and in return, give people just something different, something they wouldn't have experienced.
Yeah, you gotta hype people too up, get them excited about themselves, get them excited about what they do. When they're shy and bashful like that, like, that's freaking awesome. Like, tell us more about that. Come on, you're great. You're the best at what you do. Like, don't even lie. Like those types of, when you introduce them, like they're like literally one of the best freaking programmers you've ever met. Tell them, Dave. Like, and they're like, oh my goodness, I've worked on this. It's like, no, dude, like, you're the bomb. Like, just sometimes going over the top. It's just like the silly, like, icebreaker type, and like connecting people. That's the big thing. So like you can connect with people, but it's about connecting others. So like you go and talk with someone and, they're filling this need. It's not one you have, but later, even 2 days later, you find someone at a satellite event. That's what they're looking for. And like before you're done with the entire event, you connect those people, you introduce them, you kind of help lubricate that social interaction, that connection. And, most people that are doing that type of networking, like they're always looking to get theirs, like nickel, dime it, like where can I get my percentage, and it's like, if that's at the forefront of your intention of doing this, of solving this need in people you met and connected with, like it's not really fulfilling. It's not really motivating to me. Like by making those connections and not asking for anything in return and just authentically, continuously trying to make those connections for people, like good things happen. Like, people appreciate that. And maybe you're involved in, some aspect of business going forward just because, you put in goodwill into, solving people's needs. And so it's really about putting that first. And, anyone who's putting, and yeah, I guess like commission structures do kind of harm that. Because if your rent is determined on making business and you're connecting these people, you spent money to go to these conferences, you have to make this business to make your mortgage payments. Like that puts you in a tricky situation where is that connection super authentic? Are you really doing what's best for that person or what's best for your organization? Even if like you are required to make everything you need to happen for your bills to make this deal. Like sometimes it's best for everyone to say, maybe this isn't the best thing for us to engage in and we should go separate ways. So it's a tricky scenario. It's not possible for everyone. And I understand that.
No, 100%. And that approach is what introduced me to a lot of the people in the Bitcoin mining industry, and to be able to have connected with them. And, at this point we have many friends in a lot of places through it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a great approach to take. And what you find in the end is you have the people there who are literally working all the time, and they literally have to like report things that they had done that day. How many leads did they get? They have to update their CRM right away. And, we're like, oh, there's this, nice little place you can go have a frozen drink and like lay out in the pool, It's like all that stuff is equally as important.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider running your own conference in the Bitcoin mining industry, in the Bitcoin industry?
I mean, not personally, like I wouldn't set out to do that, myself. If a team wanted me to be involved in some capacity on helping, bring together some social satellite post events or, official afters or things like that, just helping coordinate and organize like certain aspects of things. Like I would love to be on a team for any of those conferences in those regards. Would I set out to make my own conference? Yeah, never mind. I was going to make a joke. We're just going to avoid it.
No joke. All right. Man.
Sorry.
What are some conferences that you find are important to attend if you are in the mining industry? Shout
out Miners Summit.
Our boys, John and John.
The Johns, man. No, Miners Summit was it's a smaller conference, much smaller. First one that I went to was in the Ozarks during COVID. It was literally like 30 people, but we had a great time, made great connections, literally had good business. Even though it was such a small group, it was like such a dedicated group that, made the journey to the Ozarks, middle of COVID. And there was good business, there was good connections. And it just went to show you that even if you're in a room of 5 people that are involved in the industry, there could be really great connection there. It's not about, the quantity. It is about the quality in the situations. So Miner Summit's perfect for that. Then we went, to Texas.
Yeah.
Where'd we go?
College Station.
College Station, our little queen. Their little cult mascot dog.
Yeah, like Revelry.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was an interesting time. My brother went to Madison, so I've been to Madison a good amount. And, when you kind of step into the university setting, you can definitely feel a little sense of the cultiness. but College Station, man,
yeah,
we were
college
just
town of all college towns. It's literally called College Station.
Yeah, we had no choice. They were going to tell us about everything. Like, oh, if you find a lost ring, you report it here. This is Revelry. She's our queen. If she barks, class is over.
Yeah. If you find her in your dorm bed, you have to sleep on the floor. You cannot kick her out. Like, just crazy rules for this dog.
Unbelievable. But they, out of as quirky of a spot as it is, the Johns picked a really good place because I know at the University of Texas A&M, I believe it's down there, they're actually working on developing something of a Bitcoin university, some sort of a undergraduate and then continuing on in Bitcoin mining. I found Miner Summit to be this place where my brain kind of broke. I was in, we'd been working at DLI. I've been there for about 8 months now, 9 months. And we go to Miner Summit and it truly is where, big energy meets mining. Mm-hmm. And we hung out with like Ted Cruz's like representative,
weird.
Austin or something.
He was like with us the whole time.
Yeah, super cool dude. Apparently Ted Cruz is really, concerned about how Bitcoin mining is going to develop for infrastructure in Texas. Mm-hmm. We got to meet with people who were, oil and gas working with gigawatts worth of energy. We got to meet with people in ERCOT. We got to see the political side of how the Texas Blockchain Council is working with ERCOT to develop this energy curtailment program in Texas that, from what we're seeing, seems to be very promising and, brings in a whole lot of the science and the sustainability of Bitcoin mining. So I think the Johns do a really great job, despite it being a small kind of event. They really give you very important connections and help you kind of start to piece things together on the energy side, at least.
And it's, it's kind of a breath of fresh air after, 50,000 people at Bitcoin Miami, which, is another great conference that if you're involved in this industry, you should be going to. I mean, it's an entire week in Miami of just constant satellite events every day, all day long. Like, you don't even need to go to the conference if you just are in Miami for that week. And so there's a lot to be said. Definitely Bitcoin Miami, Mining Disrupt, Miner Summit. Those are my big 3, and they are all very different. 50,000 at Bitcoin Miami, NFTs, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, some mining. It's really broad. And then Mining Disrupt, very, specific to the mining industry. Lot smaller than Bitcoin Miami, a lot bigger than Miner Summit. Very quality, learn a lot, get a lot of good connections. And the Miner Summit, just like very small, totally different from both. But honestly, one of my favorites. It's great. So, but those are the big 3. We went to the North American Bitcoin Conference. I don't think they can call it that anymore. And I think they even did change it. Now it's called, I don't even know, Galaxy, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Yeah. It definitely became all about NFTs.
Yeah.
It was all NFTs.
I think we were like one of like 2 mining companies there, maybe.
And it wasn't that many Bitcoin companies in general. Like it was NFTs.
It was all NFTs. And everyone was like curious how you can add NFTs to your business. And
yeah.
just like, no. This is where Matthias was having a field day.
Was he?
Oh yeah, he was just roasting all the NFT projects, all the crypto stuff.
He's like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
And then he comes to the Airbnb and it's just like, guys, you cannot believe. Yeah, you know how he is.
Good times.
No, totally. Those are important events for the Bitcoin, mining community specifically. It's really refreshing because, Bitcoin 22. It was a lot. It was very much, you're seeing the adoption of Bitcoin and blockchain on such a large scale that you don't feel like you're part of the grit anymore. You don't feel like you're part of the boots on the ground. Remember that guy with obviously he was, on his own level, talking about how like BSV is the true Bitcoin and stuff.
We saw him on Channel 5 News.
Yeah, we saw him on Channel 5 News. He was at I think it was like the satanic event.
Still have his little booklets he was giving out about how Bitcoin is,
I think mine's on my desk,
the revelations and stuff.
Yeah, the mark of the beast.
Now.
But despite all that, he gives you an interesting perspective because when you're inside there with 40,000 people, all stuck in this hype, like fintech, everything, all these big companies, like Shell is a sponsor this year.
I was about to say, look at the top sponsor for 2023 is Shell. So if we think we're some real big players in this space, Shell's getting involved. JP Morgan's dropping an exchange after the FTX debacle. I know they've been working on it for a while, but things line up pretty advantageously for some of the largest corporations in the world, with all of this. So it's, there's two sides to the coin. Miner Summit had a very interesting conversation with the man for a couple hours there. Scientist from Germany that was part of a body who believes, blockchain is the takeover of AI, essentially. Like it's going to create this entire silicon network of AI that takes over the world. But he was very serious, like this learned man, this, physicist, biologist, scientist. And so there's some characters and you definitely get all sorts of perspectives at these types of events. It's fun.
No, it is. And, we really don't know what's going to come, what's going to happen. I believe we're going to get more and more adoption, but it's always an important reminder that, while we're creating a way to solve a lot of the world's problems, in my opinion, through Bitcoin, we have to be wary and remember that there is still these intrinsic human values that can like spread and almost like in a bad way. So like while Bitcoin is a great way for you to take control of your money, move it around, spend it digitally, not be tied to a central bank's currency. At the same time, you got to be wary. It's money. Money makes humans do certain things. Money makes people dishonest. I don't think there is a positive end-all be-all light or a negative end-all be-all light. It's all a part of the future, and that's where it's fun when you have these people who are just shooting off on something you've never thought of. It ultimately helps me kind of solidify my argument and my case for Bitcoin in what I think is, yes, it's going to be a better solution. It's going to get us further. But you always want to be mindful that, like you said, there's those two sides to the coin there.
Yeah, it's it can be perplexing, but it's worth it.
Oh man. No, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun here talking with you, Nate. Anything that we haven't covered that you're itching to talk about?
Not too sure.
What about helping people?
helping people.
Yeah, you like connecting people. And I feel like part of that also has an importance of helping people. You know, how are you looking to help people in this digital age?
Yeah, I guess there's been a couple ways. First and foremost, it's been trying to help people with, their farms and operations and whatever they need for that, whether it's trying to link them up with repair services, new equipment, new peripherals, just troubleshooting stuff, all sorts of aspects. I guess on a personal note, and some of the aspects that I learned from my time at Charon Coins, just about overall scams in the space, and in the mining side, just people selling ASICs and impersonating accounts and scamming people. There's a lot of scams throughout the industry, on the OTC side, on the buying infrastructure side. I mean, everyone is well aware of how much dishonesty is happening in this space. And so trying to mitigate that as much as possible is definitely an interest of mine. Just chiming in on seeing scammers, impersonators, use certain strategies on Telegram and trying to call that out and bring those people to light. As well as, I've had a bit of a nonprofit plan in the back of my mind for a while, of helping, people that are being romance scammed or just relationship scammed, friendship, business, romance, all forms of relationships. People are getting scammed, millions and millions, billions of dollars, a year. Elderly people, majorly, who are either money muling Bitcoin transactions or sending their life savings through Bitcoin to scammers. And, I witnessed it a lot, actually, and worked to kind of fight against it with this little method of just like counseling people, talking to them through it, really trying and get them to understand what's going on here, as well as providing some light OSINT, open source intelligence gathering, which is just reconnaissance, zero touch information gathering on, just, is this a sock puppet account? Is this someone that doesn't have any type of digital footprint at all, like a regular person, and kind of just comparing that with regular people footprints and, just comparing and contrasting and showing them the data and just getting them to realize that, you've been sending $50,000 to someone who isn't who they say they are. And
they're not a Nigerian prince.
No. And in a lot of cases, it's like call centers. Like literally, I've been in these email threads and all the language is so peculiar. And then all of a sudden, after pointing it out, someone else in that call center took over because the entire voice, the entire grammar, vocabulary, everything changes. So it's you can identify, these are call centers that are doing these scams. And it looks bad for Bitcoin. It really does, because a lot of people are having experiences where their only experience with Bitcoin is, my aunt lost their entire family, savings because she thought that she was sending it to her her grandson or something, or I don't know, just really peculiar situations, and there's not really anyone doing anything about it. And so I do have some ideas on things that could be done, things that were done successfully already. And it is a passion that I would like to explore further as time goes on.
No, that's beautiful. I think you're really touching on something that is already such a great problem. And as we're developing, better technology, it's becoming harder to differentiate between, who's real and who isn't, or, who's a fraud. And, looking into the future, it's only going to become a bigger problem. So hoping that, your positive energy and other people like you will kind of help out with this. A lot of it is psychological in a lot of ways. These are people who are, much like we were talking about, being given a place to be vulnerable with someone. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens that someone is also romance scamming them.
Yeah.
It does give Bitcoin a bad light. So we do need to have these, hard conversations about it and be mindful that it's not just great for everyone and that it is used in a lot of bad cases. And we're hoping that, adoption and just a better understanding of how the technology works will kind of, bring more energy into solving these problems.
Yeah, a lot of it is just awareness first and foremost. And, it's still something that we're all working on for greater adoption is, a lot of people just aren't aware of all this still. It's hard to imagine that, after the couple of years being involved in it all that, I'm still having conversations with people that, we're not on the gold standard still with our bills, so it's getting people up to speed with all of it. It is challenging, but it's really important. It's important for everyone involved in the industry to be engaging with, their networks, their local communities and helping with that adoption. In a lot of ways, Merov, is trying to solve some of these issues on the mining industry side, or just infrastructure side, or just, greater asset sales and transactions of high value and utilizing KYC respectfully to verify identities and to use proper dispute processes and things, verifying the equipment and putting it through some checks and balances to make sure everything is as it says it is. And so we both have experienced and seen a lot of the issues on this side of physical transactions. And so I am pretty excited to be on a team that one recognizes my skill set as like a chief community officer, engaging with the community, clients, the team, partners, and really trying to bring a product that does solve some of the issues that we've experienced in this regard. So I'm excited for that future and to see where it goes, and we'll probably have more information for people on that as time goes on. And I'd love an opportunity to work further on my own personal project as well, that helps people outside of the physical transactions.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you guys are doing over at Merov. The people who you're working with have a lot of experience in Bitcoin mining in the industry for, a long time. And you guys are taking on a big endeavor. It's not going to be easy, but it is something that is necessary. The more legitimate resources that we can all build together, the better for the community, the better that we're all connected. And yeah, I'm being a little bit more mindful of the time now. And we kind of touched on it a bit earlier. I'd asked you, what was it about Bitcoin that really brought you in? But that was then, and this is now. And curious to know, what is it about Bitcoin that keeps you working in the industry and keeps you excited about its potential in the future?
Yeah, at this point, it definitely is a bit of a different play than when I did originally get into it. As it's been very successful to be holding. We hit some pretty incredible all-time highs. Even if you don't have a lot, that's it's some pretty incredible growth. So I've never been involved in traditional 401ks, Roth IRAs, investing in metals or anything. So to me, Bitcoin is this long-term play of trying to be a hedge against inflation and a retirement fund of sorts. It's possible that it doesn't work out that way, but I really don't think that that's the case. I know people say that. I believe Bitcoin's inevitable. I am a maxi. Like I don't care about Ethereum. I don't care about any little coin that anyone's brought to my attention ever since I got into Bitcoin is just like a distraction from Bitcoin to me. So, I do believe in its long-term growth. And, I have created a network within the industry of friends and colleagues and acquaintances that I just enjoy interacting with and being involved with. So, yeah, I just enjoy being a part of it all. And it's been successful to just plug into this new industry for the past 6 years now, and to have these opportunities to grow professionally and try to make a difference.
That was so beautiful. You have me choking over here.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Sorry to ruin such a well thought out statement.
It's top of the dome.
It was wonderful, just like when you freestyle.
Yeah, sure. You're the freestyle man. Don't lie. I got 3 written raps. Okay.
Yeah, and they're all fire.
Bars.
Listen, Nate, it's been a real pleasure having you here today.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Like I've mentioned before, your passion is awesome. Your ability to connect people is very much needed in the Bitcoin mining industry. A lot of people see that, and I feel like we got to touch on a lot of good things here. And, most importantly, I'm excited for your future. I hope things go well with Merov, and I hope you get to be a key figure in this industry. And I look forward to talking to you down the line, and just look forward to creating many more memories together.
Yeah, we absolutely will be. Definitely thankful for this opportunity. It's been a great time here in the Force Space Mining office and studio. It's been great. Thanks, guys. How's that?